I wanted to show my process, so this is a completely unedited video off here on the side where I show how I draw using Clip Studio Paint with no sketch, not recommended, and no reference, also not recommended. The point of this it's not a tutorial, it's not a suggestion, it's just me showing what I can do, not what you should do. Now, I do walk off screen a couple of times because my kiddo is in the other room, so I have to check on him. I also walk behind the camera on my way back and zoom in a bit to better show my work as I go. I'm using a Google Pixel 7 to record this particular video. I don't know how relevant that is, I'm just saying. I don't usually do well drawing while being watched or recording myself, so this was a rather difficult thing for me, but I still wanted to make it to show that I draw all of my own characters. I have been told no one would say this is AI because 1, I take forever to get art out, 2, my style is distinctive and looks nothing like AI, 3, I am still learning and not exactly on level with what AI can make, and yeah, all those points are fair, but then I saw a traditional artist accused of using it, so I took that as my sign that I should just go ahead and make a video like this. At least right now, while this kind of video cannot be generated, and I don't doubt this wouldn't be considered proof enough in the future, but right now, this should be proof enough. Now, why would it be bad if my art were mistaken for the work of artificial intelligence? I mean, on one hand, isn't it a complement of skill? Not really. And here's why. If a person thinks something I sat and drew was just generated, then they essentially deny the labor that went into my art. Part of what makes art enjoyable is the fact that you can look at it and see others enjoy it and think, yeah, I made that. That feels pretty good, you know? Whereas when you're complimented for something you didn't draw, it feels hollow. You may have written a prompt, but it's not the same as doing the art from scratch yourself. Now, I wanted to share a bit about my personal history with AI, my current stance, and if you don't like what you hear, that's okay. I just appreciate you hearing me out completely because it's a bit of a rocky story, maybe it still is. If you wanted to change where I stand, though, after you hear it all, listen to the matter first, then share your thoughts gently but firmly, and that would be the best way to do it. So, back in 2021 or 2022, I was introduced to AI. I didn't fully grasp what it was. I tried looking into it a bit, but it seemed like a really cool tool that could help streamline my work at the time. I was terrible at backgrounds, so we, Atheros and I, paid $200 for an app that lets you manually animate things that is not generated, that is your work to animate the things, and then had a feature on the side to generate images like backgrounds. I used this to generate a church for Soapy, as I was taking photos and editing them for myself for the whole series, but when it came to getting a photo of a church, the one I could walk to was way too distinctive. Basically, if I took a photo of that church, readers would know exactly where I lived at the time, so I had the app make a church. And I tried to draw over it to blend it in better with the rest of the series that I had done. It looks absolutely terrible. Here, let me show you. So that wasn't great, but Soapy was basically a meme, so I left it. I edited the series into a PDF as well, and I did disclose that there was modified AI when publishing it. Even though the vast majority, everything outside of that chapter, and most of the things in that chapter is all my work from scratch, I still disclosed that there was modified AI in that. So I went on to have another church image made for the background of my series, St. Parasitic, and I did a background for Beyond Remnants. Though they were even more heavily edited, I did so much work over them, they weren't really recognizable anymore, and the whole point was saving time, but I think I spent more time on these backgrounds. It was a pain, which was not the plan. Now, I did hear a lot of people were upset about AI. As I was doing this, it started becoming more and more apparent that people were not happy with it. But the argument I was hearing was the same thing over and over and over. It's going to take artists' jobs. I didn't feel like that was a good argument to not use something. Lots of advancements have displaced jobs, but come what may, we adapt. I was still commissioning artists for myself, so it hadn't replaced them in my situation, and I didn't feel personally threatened either. Then one day, someone I knew was talking about their complete lack of empathy for the artists complaining about AI. I asked her about her stance, and she said she was tired of her husband complaining about it, and that she had been replaced years ago in the website making space. No one cared about her, so she couldn't find it in her to care about them. We'd both heard the same argument that it was just another matter of job loss, which, though important, didn't seem like a strong enough argument, again, against something like this. I know some of you are probably really hurt hearing that, and I don't mean that to be hurtful. I am just laying things out honestly. Something about our conversation bothered me, though. Her husband was not someone I considered unreasonable. I felt like he'd be the first person to tell people, get over it and change what they offer so people would still hire them. He was an artist himself and had an even more distinct style than I did. It looked nothing like AI, so surely he would still find work. I began digging deeper because this wasn't sitting right with me, and I actually wanted to hear the best arguments against AI. And you know what? The arguments were terrible. I put my hands in the air thinking, wow, these people are so vicious. I don't even want to hear their side anymore. And then I saw a video pop up. I can't remember what the title was, but it promised to explain the fight against AI, why people were upset, and in a less vicious way. I watched it. This man wasn't hostile towards those using it. He explained the reasons why it was bad. It wasn't the argument I had heard. It was a lot deeper than that. He was the first to explain to me that AI cannot add anything by itself. At least, not in its current developed state, because it's not real intelligence, it's basically a language model. He was kind in his explanation, not cussing me out, but telling me more like a friend rather than an enemy why this was hurting him, others, us. The big one for me was he explained that AI pirated content to learn. That is, it stole. It could have been trained on public domain works, but it was being taught from things that the content developers, like the individuals behind the AI, pirated from content creators. And I am against pirating because pirating is stealing, since it is taking without paying for something that isn't for free. My brother, who creates music, had a beautiful report on the entitlement behind pirating content. It's something that was very convicting to hear about. And there was definitely a lot of entitlement being revealed to me about the artificial intelligence programmers at the time. This is not to say all of them, but it was certainly all that I had heard about up to that point. The next thing was the environment. I had no idea how detrimental it was. Someone had told me before, wrongly, that AI wasn't worse than a basic internet search. The environment issues have only escalated by the establishment of centers used to collect data harvested by these language programs called AI. So yeah, case in point, I stopped generating images. And I shared the video with the person I mentioned earlier saying, hey, I saw this on the topic and I think it's probably why your husband feels the way he does. You don't have to agree, but you should hear the best argument before you make your decision on where you stand. She became very anti-AI after that. So this is a great case for making a good argument, not just any argument. I think back then a lot of people were just parroting the outrage, but unequipped to explain the actual problems. That app I bought, that I mentioned earlier ended up removing the AI features entirely, which on one hand is good. On the other hand, I paid for that, so shouldn't there be some sort of statement? A partial refund? Anything? Well, I wasn't using that anymore regardless, so this was for the best, and maybe that's just the just right thing. This evens the playing field, so yeah, where I am now, I would like to see the current AI scrapped and a new model built ethically. I would like to see us make advancements towards efficiency so that it's not just this power hog and water guzzler, because our world matters and we need to take care of it. I would like to see this revised and ethical AI as an option to use and not forced on everyone. Some people won't like it, even if everything is done the right way. Everyone should have a say in if they use it or not. Basic consent, you know? And I would like those who do use it to be completely transparent about using it. A tool for all, properly trained and disclosed. That is the dream. As for our own use, well, we don't anymore. I ceased making Beyond Remnants comics until I get the novel written. And then I would like to hire a team of artists to do the series in webcomic form with me based on the novel I've written. I have plans to eventually reboot Saint Parasitic as well and remove the one modified generated background for one I drew completely from scratch by myself. I just have a lot of work to do before I can get to that. With Soapy, Adobe has currently locked me out of using the Photoshop suite I bought and paid for. It was over $500. So I can't currently make PDFs. My hope is to get access to my tools again, and I can switch out that panel in the chapter, but for now my hands are tied on that one. As for the music, well, 100% of our music was made by actual composers. My passion is to make content for you guys to enjoy completely for free. And so I've sunk a lot of money into making that a reality. And all of the music by various composers that I have hired can be listened to on YouTube or on our website. All of our writing is also by us. This one is probably more obvious. But we haven't had AI write anything for our site or videos. The text is all us. Our dubs are also by real people, including some voice actors in training working on their portfolios. All along the way, we've worked with other people. It only makes sense going forward to find a background artist for our comics or get the skill ourselves. It will benefit them and us and give something more in line with the actual vision for the series. So yeah, that is the full disclosure. It amounts to a few backgrounds. At the time, I looked at it the same way as using Clip Studio Paint assets for a background, but those weren't pirated, and these are. So with what I know now that I didn't know then, I'm working to remove it all and make everything from scratch. I have found most people have a history of using some AI before learning about the unethical ways things were made. We can't do anything about the past. But that's not really what matters. What really matters is what you do once you know the truth of a matter. That you be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. It's not too late to repent, and if someone holds the past against you, that's a problem with them. You just keep doing the right thing going forward. Now, my kiddo ended up hurt while I was working on this, which was the worst turn of events, so I ended up having to stop before I could do the full rendering of this image, but hopefully you can tell by this, hopefully this is enough of my art process that you are now able to see, like, I am drawing the art myself. This is my work, and I have disclosed what was not my work. Going forward, everything will be mine or the work of actual artists. So there you have it. And let's hope maybe one day something more ethical can be built for the people, by the people.